Every year, the same argument comes back. Blender is industry ready. And every year, studios quietly don't change much. So what's actually true in 2026? This video is not Blender hype, and it's not Blender hate. It's a reality check. By the end of this video, you'll know where Blender is absolutely industry ready, where it still struggles, and how studios actually evaluate Blender artists in 2026 inch. If you care about working professionally, this matters. Because the real question isn't whether Blender is good, it's whether studios can trust it in production. Studios don't ask, is this software powerful? They ask, can this fit into our pipeline without breaking everything? Studios already know most 3D software is powerful. Their real question is, if we use this, will our whole production still run smoothly, or will it cause problems for everyone down the line? So they care about, does it talk well with other tools? Maya, Houdini, Unreal, Nuke? Does it support shared workflows for big teams? Is it stable for long projects with deadlines? Studios also look at the version control. Version control is like a time machine for project files. Artists can save many versions of the same file, like V001, V002, V003. If something breaks, they can go back to an older, safe version. They can see who changed the file and when they changed it. This stops big problems like someone saved over the only good file, or we lost yesterday's work. They also consider the asset management. An asset is any piece of the project, like a character, prop, environment, texture, or rig. Asset management means every asset has a clear name and is stored in the right place. Each asset has a status like work in progress, approved, or final. Everyone knows which version of the asset they should use. When an asset is improved, all shots that use it can update to the new version. Without asset management, people use old or wrong assets, shots do not match, and fixing everything is very hard and slow. Instead of a person clicking the same buttons again and again, studios use scripts or small tools to let the computer do those actions automatically. For example, automation can set all the render settings for the whole studio, so every project uses the same quality and format without artists fixing it every time. It can also check that file names and folders follow the studio rules, so nothing gets lost and everyone can find the right files quickly. Another example is exporting assets. Automation can save models, textures, or animations into the correct formats and folders without someone doing all that manual work. Because of this, automation makes the pipeline faster and more consistent. People do not have to remember every small rule, and they can focus on the creative work instead of the boring tasks. In a 3D pipeline, your work almost never stays with just you. It has to move from one artist to the next. This transfer is called a handoff. A handoff is when one artist passes their work to the next person in the chain. For example, it might go like this. The modeler creates the 3D model. Then the rigger adds controls to make it move. Then the animator makes it act and perform. Then the lighter sets up the lighting and mood. And finally, the compositor puts all the renders together and polishes the final image. For a handoff to be good, the files must open correctly in the next person's software. That means no missing files, no broken links, no errors. The file names and folder structure also need to be clear and predictable. When someone opens your project, they should instantly understand where things are. All the important assets must be included. Textures, rigs, caches, simulations, everything the next artist needs to continue. Nothing should be missing or only saved on your personal machine. If handoffs are bad, the next artist spends hours trying to fix broken files, instead of doing their real job, making great art. So, clean handoffs save time, reduce stress, and help the whole team focus on creativity instead of troubleshooting. That's version control, asset management, automation, handoffs. This is where Blender has improved massively, but also where the limits still show. Let's be clear, Blender is absolutely production ready for indie studios, Small to mid-sized teams, freelance pipelines, previs, layout, motion design, environment, and asset creation. It is not replacing Maya or Houdini everywhere, but it is a serious, professional option that many studios already use in parts of their pipeline. What do people really mean when they say Blender is industry-ready? When people say this, they're not just saying Blender is cool or popular. They mean you can use Blender to deliver real, final work that clients pay for. This includes films, TV commercials, game assets, product renders, and more. Industry-ready also means teams can use Blender every single day on a project without everything breaking. The software has to be stable enough, with enough features, so the whole production does not collapse because of bugs or missing tools. Another big part of being industry-ready is how well Blender talks to other software. You need to move files in and out using common formats like FBX, Alembic, USD, and OpenEXR. That way, Blender can fit inside a bigger pipeline with tools like Maya, Houdini, Unreal, Nuke, and others. Today, Blender is already at this level for many kinds of work, especially outside of the biggest Hollywood and high-end VFX studios. So where does Blender actually fit best in the industry right now? Blender really shines in places where flexibility and low cost are important. Let's start with indie studios and small teams. These teams can use Blender for almost the whole 3D pipeline: modeling, animation, lighting, rendering, and even compositing. Because Blender is free and open source, they do not have to pay per seat licenses, which keeps their budgets low and predictable. Next, freelancers. If you work alone, Blender is powerful because one app can cover most of your daily tasks: creating assets, animating them, lighting, and rendering. And in many cases, clients don't actually care which software you use. They care that the work looks good, is on time, and fits the brief. Blender is also very strong for previs, layout, and motion design. With EV and cycles, you can get fast previews and high-quality final frames. This makes Blender great for animatics, camera blocking, and motion graphics for advertising, YouTube, and social media content. Another area where Blender fits really well is environment and asset creation. Tools like modeling, sculpting, geometry nodes, and texture painting make it a solid choice for building props, environments, and game assets. For many indie studios, small companies, and solo artists, Blender is not just a side experiment anymore. It is already their main 3D tool, the center of their pipeline. So when you hear Blender is industry-ready, think about this. Can it deliver paid work? Can teams rely on it every day? And can it work nicely with other tools? For a huge and growing part of the industry, the answer today is yes. Studios are using it, just not always loudly. And many pipelines quietly mix Blender with other tools. This is why many professionals say Blender is in production, but as part of a pipeline, not always the whole pipeline. If you're aiming at indie games, animation, ads, YouTube, or small studios, Blender alone is usually enough to be job ready. If you want big VFX or Hollywood jobs, Blender is still useful, but you should also learn at least one major pipeline tool like Maya or Houdini, because many large studios build their systems around those. Think of Blender in 2026 as a serious professional tool that shines in indie, freelance, and flexible pipelines, and that increasingly sits beside the traditional big tools in studio workflows. So why don't big studios fully switch? It's not about quality, it's about risk. Big studios have decade-old pipelines, custom tools, thousands of shots in progress. Switching software isn't a download, it's a multi-year gamble. And this is the part most Blender debates ignore. Imagine a big animation studio like Disney or Pixar. When they say pipeline, they don't mean just one piece of software. They mean the entire machine that makes the movie or series happen. The pipeline is everything working together. It includes all the different software the studio uses, plus custom tools and scripts that the studio's tech team builds. It covers file formats, how scenes are saved, how assets are named, and how files move from one department to another. It also includes the render farm, which is a bunch of powerful computers that render all the shots. There's tracking systems to see who is working on what, permissions to control who can change which files, and backups so nothing important gets lost. All of this is part of the pipeline. Inside this pipeline, every step of production is connected. Modeling, rigging, animation, lighting, and compositing are not isolated. They are joined together in a chain, and a lot of that chain is automated with tools and scripts. That means if something changes in one part, it can affect many other parts down the line. For example, if the rig changes, it might break animations, lighting setups, or even final renders. So in a big studio, protecting and managing the pipeline is a huge deal because it holds the whole production together like a nervous system. In big studios, they don't always rush to use the newest software. For example, a studio might stick with something like Maya 2018 for many years. The reason is simple. That version is tested, stable, and everything already works the way they need. They may have thousands of assets, characters, rigs, and shots that were all built specifically for that one version and its plugins. If they decide to update, it's not just clicking update and done. It means opening, checking, fixing, and resaving huge libraries of files. And after all that work, the movie might look exactly the same on screen. On top of that, even a small software update can cause big problems. It can break plugins, export tools, or even stop the render farm from working properly. That's why many studios prefer to stay on an older, stable version instead of always chasing the newest one. Let's talk about why big animation and VFX studios don't just switch software every time something new and exciting comes out, like Blender or a new version of Maya. First, big studios almost never use software out of the box. They don't just download Maya, Houdini, or Blender and start working. Instead, they wrap these apps in a lot of custom code and tools. They have their own tools for things like publishing files, version control, naming conventions, rendering, review, and approvals. All of this is built around specific software versions and specific APIs. Now, here's the key problem. If a studio changes the main 3D app or even just updates it to a new version that can break everything around it, suddenly all the custom tools, all the glue code, might need to be rewritten or recompiled. That's why studios hire specialized pipeline developers. These are the people who build and maintain all that glue. They're highly skilled, rare, and very expensive. So changing software isn't just install and go. It's a huge technical and financial project. Now, let's talk about risk because this is the real reason studios are careful. Even if a new piece of software is amazing, the studio has to ask one big question. Can this break our deadlines? Imagine a serious bug appears in the middle of production, right before a deadline. That one bug could cost more money than years and years of software licenses. It could delay a movie, upset clients, or even damage the studio's reputation. That's why big studios introduce new tools very slowly. They usually test new software on small internal projects, short films, new or low-risk shows. They almost never drop a brand new tool straight into their main, high-budget productions. They also often stay at least one version behind the latest release. They don't want to be unpaid beta testers, dealing with fresh bugs that haven't been discovered yet. They prefer stability over having the newest features. Now, here's what most online debates about Blender and industry standard tools miss. People online usually talk about features, render quality, what big studios are using, but studios think in different terms. They think about risk, stability, how easy it is to hire trained artists. Today, it is easier than before to use Blender in parts of pipeline. A studio might use Blender for layout, previs, concept work, or specific tasks. But completely replacing a core app, like swapping Maya for Blender across the whole studio, is not a weekend decision. It's a multi-year plan, not just a download and install. There's another big factor: artists. A studio needs a lot of artists who already know the chosen tool. Training hundreds of people from scratch is very expensive and slows production down. So until a studio can prove on real projects, the new software setup is just as safe and reliable as the old one. they will move very slowly. It's not because the new software is bad. It's because in production, reliability and deadlines are more important than having the newest toy. That's why, when we talk about Blender or any other tool in big studios, we should think less about is this software good, and more about how risky is it to change the pipeline. In short, big studios move slowly not because they hate new tools, but because one mistake can cost millions. Studios don't hire Blender. A lot of people say studios don't hire Blender. And you know what? In a way, that's true. They're not impressed just because you know where every menu and every shortcut is. What studios are really looking for are artists who can solve visual problems. People who can take a shot or an asset, make it work, make it look good, and make sure it fits into a bigger pipeline. So instead of thinking they hire Blender artists, think they hire artists who understand production. Let me repeat. They hire artists who understand production. If you show clean topology, strong fundamentals, pipeline awareness, problem-solving skills, studios don't care how you got there. Blender becomes a non-issue. What does that mean? It means you understand how the work flows in a real studio. From concept, to modeling, to surfacing, to rigging, to animation, to lighting, and finally to compositing. You don't have to be an expert in every step, but you should understand where your part sits in that chain, and how what you do affects the people after you. Here's the key point. Studios don't care how you got there. Blender becomes a non-issue. If your work is clean, if your files are organized, if your assets render properly, and you deliver on time, the tool you used, Blender, Maya, Houdini, whatever, matters way less than most people think. Studios can train you on a new software. They can show you where the buttons are. But training someone to think like a production artist, to be reliable, to solve problems, to work in a pipeline, that's much harder. So if you're learning Blender right now, keep going, but don't stop at the software. Learn how production works, learn how to be a good teammate in a pipeline. And that's what will really make studios interested in you. It's 2026, and you don't just want to be a Blender person anymore. You want to be a production-ready artist. Someone a studio can trust to plug straight into a real pipeline. So what does that actually mean? Let's break it down in simple, real-world language. Clean topology. First, your models need clean topology. That means your edge flow makes sense. Loops follow the shape of the model, especially around joints like elbows, knees, and the face. You mostly use quads, and your polygon density is consistent. No random superdense areas next to low poly areas. When you animate or bend the model, it deforms nicely. No ugly stretching, no weird pinching. When you add subdivision, it behaves the way you expect. Inside the mesh, there's no junk, no random n-gons, no non-manifold geometry, no hidden mess. In short, if someone else opens your model, they don't get a headache. Next, fundamentals. These matter more than knowing every Blender shortcut. Form and silhouette. Your characters and props look clear and recognizable, even in simple lighting or as a black silhouette. You can tell what they are instantly. Anatomy and structure. For humans, creatures, or even stylized characters, the body feels believable. The joints, muscles, and proportions make sense. Composition and lighting. You can place cameras and lights to tell a story. The viewer's eye goes where you want it to go. Color and materials. You understand contrast and value. Your metals look like metal. Your skin looks like skin. Your plastic looks like plastic because you understand how light behaves. These skills stay with you no matter which software you use. Then we have pipeline awareness. In a studio, you're not a solo hero. You're part of a chain. That means you name your objects, collections, and textures clearly. You keep your scenes tidy and organized. You export using the correct formats, and you respect the studio's naming conventions. You always think, who gets this file after me, and what do they need from it? You know basics like versioning, feedback rounds, and how assets move between departments and different software. This is what makes you someone teams want to work with. Next is problem solving. When something goes wrong, you don't just say, Blender is bugged, and quit. Instead, you test things. You isolate the issue. You Google, you check docs, you ask smart questions. You try different modifiers, different export settings, different rig setups. You handle feedback without destroying your whole scene. You can change things without breaking everything. Studios love artists who calmly fix problems instead of complaining about them. Think of 2026 as the year you stop calling yourself a Blender user and start becoming a production-ready 3D artist. Here's a clear path you can follow. 1. Focus on fundamentals. Every week, don't just chase new Blender features. Spend time on modeling, anatomy, design, lighting, animation principles. These skills make your work look professional, no matter what tool you use. 2. Build a studio-style portfolio. Aim for 3 to 5 strong pieces that look like they could drop straight into a film, game, or commercial. For example, 1 or 2 production-ready characters with clean topology, proper UVs, and solid materials. 1 environment with strong composition and lighting. Optional. 1 animation shot showing acting or body mechanics. Quality beats quantity. 1 clean piece is better than 10 messy ones. 3. Practice clean, professional files. Treat every personal project like it's going into a real studio pipeline. Name objects, materials, collections, and textures clearly. Use non-destructive workflows when you can, modifiers, instances, linked assets. Keep scenes organized and lightweight so they don't crash, lag, or confuse others. This builds good habits before you ever join a studio. 4. Learn to translate your skills. You don't need to master Maya or Houdini right now, but watch a few intro videos just to understand how they look and how they work. Learn common formats like FBX, Alembic, and USD. Practice exporting from Blender to those formats and importing them into other apps, even if it's just a test. This shows you're not locked into one tool. You're flexible. 5. Collaborate like a studio artist. Don't stay alone forever. Join small online projects, game jams, or short film teams. Follow the team's naming rules and folder structures. Take feedback, make changes, and deliver on time. This teaches you production behavior, not just solo skills. 6. Specialize slowly. In 2026, aim to be T-shaped. You have a broad understanding of the whole 3D process, but you also have one deeper focus, maybe character modeling, animation, lighting, or environments. Studios hire people like a modeler who understands animation needs, or an animator who understands rigs, not just someone who plays in Blender for fun. If you follow this path, something important happens. Blender stops being your identity. It becomes just one of your tools. And when a studio looks at your portfolio, they don't see Blender user. They see a production artist they can trust to join the team and deliver. Here's the smart approach. Use Blender to build strong fundamentals. Learn production concepts, not just tools. Understand how data moves through a pipeline. Be software adaptable, not software loyal. Blender is ready, but your thinking has to be industry ready too. In the next video, I'll break down the 5 skills studios expect you to have that no software teaches, and why most artists never develop them. If you want honest, no-nonsense 3D career advice, hit subscribe. This channel is about helping you think like a studio artist, not argue like a fan. See you in the next one.